Hi, my shortas and lolicorns. This is Arkelle here, and I'm back with another Watch Me Draw video. Yes, I finally got a name for you guys who were in my live stream, my last live stream. There was a really good inside joke, and which prompted some amazing names to call you guys. So you guys are officially now my shortas and lolicorns. So I'll go ahead and write that. If you guys know what that means or you were in the live stream, then A+ for you, you guys are great, but I'm totally gonna call you guys that from now on, so, problem? Troll face, no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, yes, I'm back with another Watch Me Draw video, and I'm finishing up that drawing that I did forever ago. You guys were like, Arkelle, are you ever gonna finish that drawing? No, I'm just kidding. But yes, I am finally finishing that drawing, so you guys get to watch me do all that. But in my last video I had asked you guys to give me suggestions for things that you guys wanted me to talk about in videos, because when I kind of like, I'll have all my footage like recorded, you know, of me drawing, I always think like, oh man, what am I going to talk about? Sometimes like, I usually just talk about updates and whatever, but sometimes I'm just like, oh man, what am I going to talk about? It's going to be so boring. And you know, like, I don't mind definitely talking about things for you guys, because you guys seem to prefer me talking rather than music, but it's just hard for me to think of things to talk about sometimes, since I'm not really, I'm not very good at talking, so, but I asked you guys if you had any suggestions, and I think that I'll probably keep this kind of, like, sort of one topic thing. Like, I'll make a video, and then like someone will post a really good question, and I'll answer like just that one particular question, like as detailed as I can. If it's a question that, you know, requires a lot of detail, that would be easier for me to answer. So I thought I would try that out, and this is a question that I get quite a lot. I actually got numerous people requesting this same type of question, and but the one in particular that I'm going to be answering is from a commenter on one of my videos called Derpy Drawer with an R at the end, and they asked, I have answered this question before, but I want to go a bit more in detail with it, and they asked a really good, like, sort of, like, extra part to the question, but basically they said, how do you get your inspiration for your art, and if you do try to create your image on paper, do you stick with it? The second part of the question is, like, they said, you know, like, what's your motivation, I guess, and then little XD faces. But that's a really good question. I think I've answered it a little bit before, but as far as how I get inspiration for my art, I'm not the type, like, maybe this is just me, but I'm definitely not the type of person that needs to look for inspiration. I often hear a lot of people talking about artists, and they're like, you know, oh, artists are always searching for this divine inspiration to hit them, and that's never been me. I've never, ever in my life had to, like, it's never been a big epic ordeal for me to look for inspiration. I can literally just pick up a pencil or see a piece of paper or something like that, and just instantly get an idea of something to draw around it, like based off of it, something that just comes into my head looking at anything, thinking about anything. I don't have to, you know, like, spend a lot of time like looking for something that really inspires me. But also, that being said, is that something that really does inspire me, and the reason why it probably comes very easy to me to a certain degree, is that a lot of the things that I draw have to do with my own original characters, my own original stories, their lives, their struggles, their accomplishments, that sort of thing. So it's really easy for me to think of things to draw because I'm thinking of them. And certain scenarios that they would be in, or how they react to things that are, you know, just important in their lives. And sometimes it's a case where I'll see something, you know, that just interests me in real life, and then I'll think about, okay, so, oh, well, how would this thing that I'm seeing right now, how would one of my other characters interpret it? You know, how would they, like, react to the same thing? And so that's really inspiring to me as well, and that's a lot of the things, like, that I draw have to do in that sort of way, like my own characters, how they react, that sort of thing. As far as like creating, like, you know, an image on paper, like if I stick with it, a lot of times I'll get an idea of something to draw, and sometimes it will sit in my head for literally months. I mean, months. But it'll just stick with me for a really long time, and I'll just be like, I'm busy right now, I can't really get to that particular, piece in my head yet, but if it sticks around long enough, eventually it just, it kind of eats away at you, like, you're like, man, I really have to draw this, like, it's calling to me, if that makes sense. And that's what usually happens with pretty much everything that I draw, is that I'll get an idea, and it usually just sits in my head for months and months, and while those ideas are sitting, the ones that have been sitting previously are the ones that I'm working on now. So usually when I draw something, it's an idea that I had months ago, and I'm just now getting around to drawing it. But a lot of times for me, I've noticed that, especially like now, maybe not so much like a few years ago, when I didn't really I didn't put as much thought or time or care into really making sure that what I want from art is what I'm actually creating. It was a little bit easier for me to sort of just draw something and say, okay, this is okay, I'm fine with this, and then just post it and I'm done. But nowadays, I really want to make sure that my art is what I want from it. If it's not really saying the kind of story that I want it to say, if it's not working for me, if it's just not coming across the way I want it to, I will just either refine the drawing until I like it, or sometimes, in a lot of cases, I'll just completely restart. Nowadays, I do that more often than I used to. I'll have an idea, I'll be like, okay, I'm drawing this, and honestly, sometimes it'll take me a good, 3-4 times, 3-4 full, complete sketches before I'm like, okay, no, this is actually what I want. And part of that is because I usually have a clear, I usually have a very strong idea of what I want, but I don't always have a very clear image of what I want it to look like. So sometimes it requires a bit of experimentation and trial and error, and that's just part of the process, I think, for me. But if it's, like I said, if it's an idea that I've had for months and it's still there and it still doesn't, go away after all that time, then yes, I definitely do try to stick with it, even though sometimes, like I said, it will take numerous tries for me to get it right. And the second part of that question, I'm coming towards closer to the end of the video, but the second part of the question I kind of already answered a little bit, but what is your motivation for drawing? And it's kind of a hard question, I think, for some artists to answer, because you don't always know, why are you drawing? Like, obviously because it's fun, and some people, they think they're good at it, so that's why they do it. And for me, that's kind of a similar reason as well. But over the years, I've kind of realized that my main motivation for drawing is to tell a story. As silly as it might sound, and as lame as that might sound, I draw because sometimes I guess it's hard for me to explain things. It's hard for me to talk and to just get my feelings out. I'm not a very vocal, strong kind of person, and it really helps to just sort of imagine stories like in my head and whatever, and just, if there's something, not even that, if there's something that I really feel passionate about and something that I want to tell people and I want to share, it helps me so much to just draw things and just tell a story with it. And art has that kind of power that people will really listen to it, if you put it out there. And so that's really a big motivation as to why I draw. There's many other reasons, of course, but I think the main reason is because there's stories that I want to tell of, that I'm passionate about, or that, reflect my characters or whatever, and I want people to hear them and react to them and think about them, and a lot of times think about things that they wouldn't normally, or in perspectives they wouldn't normally see in, and that's a big motivational factor for me as to why I draw. So yeah, but anyway guys, hopefully you guys like this little format. I'm getting to the end of the video here, so hopefully you guys liked my drawing, and hopefully you guys don't mind, you like this little format where I kind of, have one particular question and I sort of get in depth with it. It helps me too, so I can kind of get my thoughts out. But thank you guys so much for watching, as always. Sorry it's been kind of slow for videos, but hopefully you guys enjoy this, and yeah, so my shortas and lolicorns, I'll see you guys later. Yeah.